You know that feeling, right? You've been putting in the work, buying the courses, reading the books, setting those big goals, but it still feels like that next level, that big win is just out of reach.
Yeah.
Like you're grinding hard, but maybe, still stuck.
Absolutely. It's a really common frustration.
You might think, okay, I need a new strategy, another hack. But what if the real challenge isn't really your effort? What if it's more that your brain is fundamentally wired for a world that just doesn't exist anymore, like an older, slower world?
That's a great way to put it. We're trying to navigate this super high-speed, kind of unpredictable environment using, mental software that feels outdated, written for something much simpler.
Exactly. And that's why we were really excited to do this deep dive into the source material you shared, this YouTube content package. The one trick you need to master, you know the one.
Right, the one focusing on the 2025 rewire plan.
Yeah, and it pulls heavily from Mel Robbins' let them theory. It basically promises a blueprint for tackling this exact problem.
And our mission here really is to cut through maybe some of the hype and pull out the core ideas, the actual steps this plan lays out.
Yeah.
It suggests a way to potentially, deactivate your brain's default panic button.
Okay.
And maybe install what it calls a success circuit and master this really key mental switch so you can not just survive 2025, but actually maybe thrive in all the chaos.
So this isn't just us summarizing it. We're trying to pull out a tactical guide, right?
Exactly. The material presents it as a plan to actively rewire your neural pathways, moving beyond just mindset advice to concrete actions, neuroscience-backed stuff.
Okay, let's unpack this blueprint then. Where does it start?
Well, the foundational idea, the very first shift they talk about is what the source calls the master switch. Install the let them let me operating system. It's presented as this powerful two-part framework.
Okay, that sounds, almost passive, like giving up.
It sounds like it, but the source explains it differently. It's more about a radical, energy-reclaiming acceptance of what you fundamentally cannot control.
Okay.
Intentionally deciding to let go of that mental fight with external stuff. So let them misunderstand you. Let them reject your proposal.
Let them follow your competitor.
Right. Let the algorithm change overnight.
Yeah.
Let the market do its unpredictable thing. You can't control it anyway.
And they have a stat for this, don't they? Something about stress.
Yeah, the source cites research suggesting a really high number, like 7 out of 10 people live in chronic stress because they're constantly trying to grip and control things that are, inherently uncontrollable.
And that feels especially true, now.
Yeah.
For 2025, the number of uncontrollables just seems to be exploding.
It really is.
You've got AI changing everything, trends flashing past, the economy. Who knows? Trying to control all that or even just worrying about it constantly.
It just burns through your brain energy,
Yeah.
finite energy. The source uses this analogy I like. It's like leaving 50 tabs open on your computer.
Yeah, everything just slows down.
Everything slows down, your system crashes, you end up burned out, just paralyzed by the what ifs.
Right. That wasted energy is the real cost. Every bit you spend fighting the uncontrollable is energy you can't use elsewhere.
Exactly. Which brings us to the second part, the active part, the power redirecting bit. Let them. This is where you take all that energy you just saved by saying let them, and you aggressively reinvest it, but only into things you absolutely can control.
Okay. So let me focus on my response, or let me build a better offer.
Let me master this new skill. Let me create value. Let me control my calendar, my health, my energy, stuff I actually own.
Precisely. And the action plan they suggest is pretty tactical. It's almost like a script for your inner voice. When you feel that anxiety spike about something you can't control.
Like a competitor's launch or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or a market dip or someone ignoring you. The plan says to literally say, maybe just internally, let them.
Okay.
But the key is you immediately follow it.
Yeah.
Right away with let me. And then state one specific action you can take right now.
So it's instant pivot.
Instant pivot. So instead of stewing about ignored emails, let them ignore my cold email. Let me send 5 more.
Perfect. Or let them launch that new AI tool. Let me figure out how I can use it.
It turns obstacles into action triggers. The source mentioned Alex Hormozy, right?
Yeah, that was a great example.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to waste energy worrying if people buy his cheap stuff. It's more like,
Let them say no to that. Let me make my free stuff so damn good they feel stupid not to engage more.
Exactly. That's the let them let me system right there. Redirecting energy from fighting reality to just building momentum on your own terms, recognizing where your actual power lies.
Okay, so that's managing energy. What's next in this rewire plan?
Well, moving from energy to your internal state, the plan talks about activating what it calls CEO mode, shifting from your amygdala to your prefrontal cortex.
Right, the two brain modes.
Yeah, it explains we're kind of always switching between two main operating systems.
One is survival mode, run by the amygdala. That's the old brain stuff, right? Reactive, emotional.
Fight or flight, exactly. Sees negative comments, market dips, competitor wins as a threat. Its job is safety, which often means freezing, lashing out, or running away.
And the other mode?
CEO mode, governed by your prefrontal cortex. The more evolved part, rational strategic planning.
Okay.
It sees the same data, the comment, the dip, the competitor, not as a threat, but as information, something to analyze and use strategically.
And activating that mode in 2025 feels crucial. The source points out your phone is basically an amygdala activation machine, right?
Totally. Every ping, every scary headline, every market alert, it feels designed to hijack your attention and pull you straight into reactive survival mode.
And you just can't build anything meaningful from that panic room state.
You really can't. So the action plan here is this quick ritual, like 60 seconds, a prefrontal cortex activation before you tackle something important.
Okay, break that down. What are the steps?
Simple steps from the source. First, stop. Physically stop. Phone down, maybe face down. Remove the immediate trigger.
Stop, then.
Breathe. 3 slow, deep, intentional breaths. This is apparently a direct signal to your amygdala, like saying, hey, we're breathing slowly, no tiger chasing us, calm down.
It's a physiological reset.
Exactly. And finally, ask. Ask yourself one clear strategic question. The source suggests, what is the most important outcome I need to achieve right now?
So that forces the thinking brain online, shifts focus from what if it goes wrong to how do I make this go right?
Precisely. It's about deliberately interrupting that automatic threat response and choosing your brain's OS when things feel chaotic. A small habit, but they argue it's fundamental.
Okay, makes sense. What's the next part of the rewire? This one sounds big. Kill the visibility virus. Let them judge you.
Yeah, this is huge, especially now. For anyone creating, building a brand, putting themselves out there, visibility is like oxygen.
But that fear of what people will think, the fear of criticism, paralyzing for so many people.
Totally paralyzing. And the source shares this statistic that's, well, it's kind of mind-blowing and freeing, actually. It cites research showing that a huge chunk, 69% of people's judgments about you are actually more a reflection of them than you.
Wait, 69%?
69%.
Yeah.
Think about that. Someone leaves a nasty comment, dismisses your idea. The source says the odds are high. It's coming from their own stuff, their insecurities, fears, missed chances, their limits, not some objective truth about you.
Wow. Okay, that reframes things.
And overcoming this fear is critical for 2025. The source says fear of judgment is the #1 reason people don't post the video, don't launch the thing, don't send the email.
They wait for approval, which never fully comes.
Exactly. Waiting for 100% approval guarantees 0% progress, as the plan puts it.
So what's the action plan here? The let them judge me protocol?
Yeah. The core idea is your job isn't managing everyone else's opinions, which you can't control anyway.
Yeah.
Your job is building the thing you want to build.
Right.
So step 1, identify the fear, get specific, write down the worst case judgment. They'll think I'm stupid, they'll say I'm a fake, whatever it is.
Okay, face it head on.
Then step 2, apply the 69% rule. Look at that fear, that judgment, and actively apply that statistic. Tell yourself, okay, that's the fear, and statistically, it's probably not about me. It's reflecting them.
Internalize that it's likely their projection?
Exactly. And step 3, the most important one, take action. Anyway, post it, send it, launch it. Action, the source says, is the antidote. Every time you act, despite the fear.
You're strengthening the courage pathway.
You got it. You weaken the old avoid criticism track and build the forward momentum track.
The source used Oprah as an example here, didn't it?
Yeah, perfect example. Told she was too emotional for news.
Right.
She could have stopped. But instead, it was like, let them think I'm too emotional. Let me build a show where that's my superpower.
And she did. She let the judgment exist and just built something that made it irrelevant.
Exactly. That's the principle in action.
Okay, powerful stuff. What's the final piece of this rewire plan? It's about comparison.
Yeah, the final part tackles something so pervasive today. Comparison. It's called Turn Envy into a Blueprint. The comparison switch. And it smartly breaks comparison into two types.
Okay, what are they?
First, there's torture comparison. This is when you look at stuff you just can't change about someone else. Their connections, maybe raw talent they were born with, a head start they got.
Stuff outside your control.
Totally. Comparing on those grounds. It's just torture, like the name says. Activates stress, kills your motivation. Pointless.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the other type?
Teacher comparison. This is the useful kind. Looking at replicable stuff. Their work ethic, a specific strategy they use, the system they built, a skill they clearly learned.
Things you can actually learn from.
Exactly. That's where the value is.
And social media in 2025, it feels like it's mostly a fire hose of the torture comparison, right? The highlight reels without the struggle.
It often is. You see the result, not the process, not the luck, not the hard yards. It's easy to feel inadequate staring at that. But the source argues, for the strategic person, that same landscape is also this huge open source library of teacher comparison. If you know how to look.
You can find the how, not just the wow.
Nicely put, yes.
Right.
So the action plan is the comparison switch. Next time you feel that envy or inadequacy creeping in.
Scrolling through feeds or whatever.
Yeah, first just acknowledge it. Okay, feeling envious right now, no judgment.
Right.
Then immediately ask the switch question. Is this specific comparison? Is it torture or is it a teacher?
Be honest with yourself.
Crucial. If it's torture based on unchangeables, the plan says consciously release it. Recognize its distraction. Pivot back to your own lane. Maybe use that let them let me thing again.
Okay. But what if it is a teacher comparison?
Then you lean in. If you see it's based on effort, strategy, skill, extract the lesson. Don't just admire it. Reverse engineer it.
How?
Ask specific questions. What's their offer structure? How often do they post? What's their sales funnel look like? What's one specific thing they're doing that I can maybe adapt or try this week?
So you turn that painful envy into like a free consultation.
Exactly. That's what the source suggests. It flips a debilitating emotion into fuel for your own growth. Instantly productive.
Okay, so pulling this all together, this 2025 Rewire plan, the core message seems to be less about willpower and more about brain wiring.
That's the central idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Thriving now isn't just about trying harder. It's about having a brain that's actually wired for this environment we're in.
And if you feel stuck, maybe you're not broken. You're just running old software.
Pretty much. Wiring designed for a slower, less connected, less chaotic world than the one we've got.
So the let them theory, these frameworks, it's not about giving up. It's strategic energy management.
Exactly. It's presented as a way to reclaim your energy, your focus, your clarity. Stop the drain of trying to control the uncontrollable them and reinvest all that freed up energy into the one thing you can control. You.
Your actions, your responses, your growth. So thinking through that let me lens instead of fighting the algorithm.
Let me create content so good it finds its audience anyway.
Instead of being scared of judgment.
Let me build something so impactful the judgment doesn't matter as much.
Instead of comparing my chapter 1 to their chapter 20.
Let me learn from their strategies to speed up my own journey.
This, the source argues, is how you build a brain that works for you. Seeing the chaos of 2025 not just as a threat, but maybe as an opportunity.
Right, the opportunity to differentiate by mastering your internal game. Your momentum starts, they suggest, when you stop just reacting and start deliberately rewiring.
So a final thought for everyone listening. As you think about this, maybe consider, what's one big area where you're burning energy trying to control something external?
Something you could consciously decide to just let them do.
Yeah, and what would that free you up to actually build or change in your own world?
Think about those action plans. The let me pivot, that CEO mode ritual, the 69% rule, the comparison switch.
Maybe, as the source suggests, a good first step is just declaring one limiting belief, one external thing you're choosing to let go of this week. Make it concrete.
Yeah, make it actionable. These frameworks, they aren't magic, but they feel like really solid tools for navigating, well, everything that's going on, with a bit more intention and less wasted effort.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for diving deep into this fascinating source material with us today.
Thanks for having me explore it. It's definitely given me a lot to think about.